Welcome to the Central Florida Sights and Sounds Podcast, your passport to the most captivating destinations, the most thrilling adventures, and the most unforgettable moments in the region. Now, here are your hosts, John and Anne-Marie Corigliano.
Welcome to Season 10, Episode 12 of the Central Florida Sights and Sounds Podcast, bringing you the sights and sounds of Central Florida's world-class attractions and beyond. And I'm your host, John Corigliano. Of course, here's my wonderful wife, the Madam President, Miss Anne-Marie.
Dang right.
Well, we are here at the Magic Kingdom to do what?
Well, since he mentioned Madam President, we are here at the Hall of Presidents, where hopefully a Madam President will be featured soon.
That's right. We are here at the Magic Kingdom in Liberty Square to do the Hall of Presidents. Now, Anne-Marie, you have stated to me previously that it's been a long time actually since you've done the Hall of Presidents. Is that right?
2016. And there's a reason.
Yes. But a lot of great updates have actually happened. I had the chance maybe a month or so ago to actually check out the Hall of Presidents, and it is actually very well done. So I think you're going to be in for a real treat. And, yeah, are you ready to head on to the Hall of Presidents?
Yes.
All right. Let's go by Neural.
What's the next show?
So these archival things that they have here, these artifacts, are these on like loan from like the Smithsonian or something?
It is on loan from the presidential libraries of each of those presidents. So we have stuff from George W. Bush, we have stuff from Barack Obama, Theodore Roosevelt, Jimmy Carter, Dwight Eisenhower.
It's very. Jimmy Carter just celebrated his 100th birthday not too long ago.
He did.
He is the oldest living president.
And the first
first one
president
to cross that
100.
threshold.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. Not as cool as my grandma, but she's 105.
And this is, of course, Richard Nixon's key to Disneyland back in 1955.
I know something that happened at the Contemporary Resort.
I understand. So far, Nixon is the only president that holds the record for most visits to Disneyland.
Well, he was from California, so that kind of makes sense.
Yes.
Of course. It is pretty cool that they have like actual artifacts from the presidents and stuff, that are on loan. So do these things like switch out every now and then?
They do. They do.
So it's worth if you come in here, it's worth a look in the cabinets, see if and when anything changes.
And this is about the attraction itself and how when they're designing some of the presidents for the show, how they use historically accurate pieces. They do a lot of research.
And the first ladies aren't left out.
Nope.
There are a couple of the dresses here from former first ladies.
Yep, we got Carolyn Harrison. You have Dolly Madison. and Eleanor Carter.
She went by Rosalind.
Yeah, Rosalind
She
Carter.
just passed away.
Yep,
last
they
year.
even updated it. So in the middle of Rotunda, what do we have?
We have the Great Seal of the United States, and there's some fun facts about that.
That's right. Outside of the Oval Office, where the original Great Seal, this is the only other place, and it actually took an act of Congress to actually get the Great Seal here in the Rotunda of the Hall of Presidents. So, and it's 100% wool. So, hence why there's a nice banister around it, so people do not step on it.
I guess they just don't want people walking across the Great Seal of the United States.
I mean, period. Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm sure, I don't know like how many versions of it they're allowed to have. Like,
Yeah.
So like if it got destroyed, like how long it would take to make a new one or
Correct,
something.
correct.
You know? Isn't it kind of the same thing too with the Liberty Bell outside? Like it's the only one that's not like owned by one of the original 13 colonies. or something?
It's the only other cast from the original
Bell.
Liberty Bell in Philadelphia.
are so used to this. Well, I can read it. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Hall of Presidents. Our next 22-minute presentation will begin in just about 10 minutes. If you or anyone in your party is traveling with an ECV or wheelchair, we ask that you do make your way to the far right-hand side of our theater entrance.
John, when was your grandfather born?
Which one?
The one you knew.
1923.
I thought he was born 1913.
That's my mom's father. 1913.
Yeah, that's the one you knew.
Oh,
right?
yes. Yeah. Yeah. 1913.
So another fun fact, we're sitting here looking right behind us is Woodrow Wilson, who was actually president when your grandfather and my grandmother were like that was who was president when they were born.
And who's your grandmother is still alive.
She is. So Woodrow Wilson was president when my grandmother who was born in 1919 and is still alive, and she's 105.
Yep. He was the one that Excuse me. he probably was the one that signed into law that ratified the 19th Amendment to let women vote.
Which again, folks, remember, was less than 150 years ago.
Yes.
So remember that when you're voting.
Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Hall of Presidents. Our next 22-minute presentation will begin in just about 5 minutes. If you or anyone in your party is traveling with an ECV or a wheelchair, we ask you to make your way to the far right hand side of that theater entrance. Once again, our next 22-minute presentation will begin in just about 5 minutes. Hello everyone and welcome to the Hall of Presidents. In just a few moments, those blue curtains in front of you will open and you will be welcomed into our theater. At this time, anyone in your party is traveling with an ECV or wheelchair, we ask that you do make your way to the far right-hand side of our theater entrance, as our top row will be reserved for you and your party. At this time, we ask that you do silence all mobile devices, refrain from flash photography, video camera lighting, eating, drinking, or smoking during our performance. As we enter our theater, we ask that you do remain quietly seated throughout the duration of our show. Thank you for your cooperation, and we hope you enjoy the Hall of Presidents.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for this reverent celebration of America's leaders, past and present. And now the Walt Disney World is proud to present the Hall of Presidents.
This program is dedicated to the memory of Walt Disney. In 1971, his love for America inspired the creation of the Hall of Presidents, a place to celebrate the optimism and goodwill he saw at the heart of the American story. Walt's vision was to honor the nation by honoring the American presidency.
It is 1783, and the smoke is clearing in the wake of the Revolutionary War. Over the course of 8 grinding years, General George Washington has led a force of shopkeepers, farmers, and Native American allies to victory over the greatest military power in the world. A new nation has been born, independent and free. The founders must form a national government. In 1787, through months of passionate debate, they create a written constitution. For the country's highest office, they imagine something new in the history of the world. A leader not born to power like a king or queen. A leader who has not seized power through conquest. A leader not separate from the people, but elected by the people. From among the people. We, the people. This is a new idea, an American idea. The idea of a president. The people don't know exactly what a president will be, but there is little doubt who it will be. George Washington's stature and bearing have marked him as a leader. His integrity has made him a great one. Washington knows that many generals who have led successful revolutions make themselves dictators or kings. Instead, he steps down from power and retires to his home, Mount Vernon. The world takes note, and George Washington becomes the symbol of American ideals. In the first presidential election, it's Washington by a landslide. The only doubt seems to be his own. He writes, "Integrity and firmness is all I can promise. Integrity and firmness is exactly what we need." Everything he does as president will set a model for his successors. His final act may be the most important of all. After 2 terms, with no term limit in the Constitution and amid overwhelming support to stay in office, he steps down once again and hands power back to the people. He wants us to speak, to elect a new president. During the early years of the Republic, we choose leaders as different as Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Andrew Jackson. Elections are often bitter. Each president stands at that fiery intersection where personal character meets the challenges of the times. Some call the presidency a glorious burden. Jefferson calls it a splendid misery. We, the people, must choose well. We elect 15 presidents before the course of history brings us to the edge of a crisis like no other. A nation born of freedom still permits slavery. As the country pushes west, will new states be slave or free? The question produces bitter conflict. The issue rocks the election of 1860 and brings Abraham Lincoln onto the national stage. The tall, lanky, some say uncouth candidate from Illinois is a master time when speeches are printed in full for people to read. A house divided against itself cannot stand, he has said. With Lincoln's election, the House does indeed divide. Civil War. 11 states secede from the Union. The war becomes a defining passage in the American story. The president's own inner strength and depth of character changed the course of history. Lincoln had come up the hard way, on the American frontier, desperately poor, with less than a year of formal schooling. His early years were scarred by tragedy, the death of his mother, his sister, his first love. He struggles with depression, but never loses his determination to rise above it. He once said he's driven by a desire to leave the world a little better place for having lived in it. The war rages. Lincoln fights to preserve the Union and end slavery. Neither is a sure thing. At Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, 6 months after one of the bloodiest battles of the war, the president dedicates a cemetery to the thousands of soldiers who died there, in words we can never forget.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives, that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
The blood of over 500,000 Americans is spilled in this civil war. President Lincoln's enduring hope is to give true meaning to the sacrifices of so many, to lead us to that new birth of freedom. With the end of the war and the end of slavery, a new birth truly begins. As we roll toward the 20th century, settlers roll west on wagon wheels and railroads connect the nation coast to coast. Millions of immigrants pour in from Europe and Asia. Population doubles. Our economy triples. Our standing among nations rises. We need presidents who can lead both at home and abroad. At the same time, a young Theodore Roosevelt is retreating from New York politics and personal tragedy. The death of his wife and his mother on the same day in the same house. In the Badlands of North Dakota, he rethinks his life and the life of his country. He returns stronger in body and spirit. His renewed energy is just what his country needs. American industry is booming, but social tensions are rising. A progressive movement is bubbling up, pushing for change, and change is needed in the working and living conditions in cities. The gap widens between rich and poor. The demand for change grows stronger. Teddy Roosevelt is a knight on a crusade. He speaks with force and vitality in clear terms that make colorful headlines at a time when mass market newspapers have become the new media. To define his foreign policy, he borrows a phrase from an African proverb: speak softly and carry a big stick. But his greatest accomplishments are made at home. He breaks up giant monopolies, protects workers' rights, and calls for a square deal for all Americans, rich and poor, capitalist and wage earner.
And a square deal for every man and every woman in the United States.
He calls on America to be as great as the natural grandeur of its lands. Keep your eyes on the stars and your feet on the ground, he tells us. And we do.
The bottom fell out of the market. 12 million unemployed. The bread lines and the soup. The results of the 1932 election now appear.
When we elect our 32nd president, it is the worst of times. The course of history and the course of one president's life again shape a turning point in our national destiny. Franklin D. Roosevelt, paralyzed by polio, knows how to restore the faith of a people paralyzed by the Great Depression.
I believe in practical explanation and in practical policy.
He has found the inner strength his countrymen now need. He speaks to us like a friend, a neighbor. His optimism is contagious, his voice perfect for the latest breakthrough medium, radio. He calls us to believe we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And we do believe.
Tonight's attacks on England are perhaps the most widespread of the war in the course of the day.
But an even greater challenge dominates his final years in office: the Second World War.
We must be the great arsenal of democracy. This is an emergency as serious as war itself.
We stun the world with our production. When bombs fall on U.S. troops in Pearl Harbor, he calls us to fight on the war front and sacrifice on the home front.
The harder the sacrifice, the more glorious the triumph. So spoke America in the year 1776. So speak Americans today.
The world changes. The country changes. And yet, in one sense, what we need most from our presidents has never changed. A guiding vision that calls forth the best that America can be.
Will outer space be developed for the benefit of all mankind? Or will it become another focus for the arms race? The choice is urgent, and it is ours to make.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
But really, it's all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. And we shall overcome.
One of the agreements that President Sadat and Prime Minister Begin are signing tonight is entitled A Framework for Peace in the Middle East.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
You have lost too much, but you have certainly not lost America.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
Loving this country requires the willingness to speak out for what is right, to shake up the status quo. That's America.
Our presidency is no longer just an idea. It is an idea with a proud history. Ladies and gentlemen, the presidents of the United States of America. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, James K. Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, James A. Garfield, Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren G. Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Richard M. Nixon, Gerald R. Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. And now we come to the present. Once again, we place our trust in the idea of a president, as we have from the beginning.
My fellow citizens, no event could have filled me with greater anxieties than that notification on the 14th day of April, 1789, that you had selected me to lead our nation. But it was with the confidence of my fellow citizens that I took an oath. 35 simple words that have been repeated by every American president throughout history.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
and I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
The presidency of the United States is a role unique in the world, an office entrusted to each president by us, we the people. Therein lies the genius of that new idea, now over 200 years old. A new idea our presidents have turned into a great American idea again and again.
This concludes our presentation. Please gather up all your belongings and exit out the open doors on your right and onto the open door on your right. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day here in the Magic Kingdom.
All right, Emery, what'd you think?
Well, there's a reason I haven't been in there since 2016.
Yep, and you might have just heard it.
I will say that my favorite part of the whole show is when Bill Clinton looks at his watch during Lyndon B. Johnson.
It is kind of cool to watch other presidents, and you'll see like maybe Reagan kind of like his foot moves up and down, or as you said, Bill Clinton.
He's looking at his watch.
Like, are we hurrying up with this? But overall, what do you think?
The intro was great. Like, I like how they changed it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember a lot of it because I think like I mix up this, like the intro to this, and then the Epcot
American Adventure.
Yeah, like
I would say they're kind of on the same tier.
A
little bit.
So like I think I kind of get confused what is in that one and what was in this one.
Uh-huh.
It's been a long time since I've done either one of them. So
I'll have to maybe one of these days share that with you how it used to look, and you'll get a sense of.
I mean, I just don't remember because it's been 2016 was the last time I was in this building.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's almost 10 years ago.
I get you. But overall, pretty cool.
Yes, and hopefully we'll get a good edition soon.
Yeah, listen, I'm excited for that. Don't forget, you can visit us at cfsas.com where you can email the show. You can follow us on X and BlueSky at Central FLSAS, and you can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Anne-Marie has been very, very gracious and kind to actually create some custom, clip art of our podcast or thumbnails. So when we upload it to YouTube, but also when it goes to our podcast feed, it'll also update.
But like when you're watching on YouTube, when you're watching on YouTube, it's this thing that's on your TV or on your thing. So it's like something to look at. Yep. While you're for Halloween Horror Nights, I did like a spooky one, and the first one I did it was for Dinosaur and whatever else we did on that episode.
It's tough to be a bug.
So I've been changing them up. So after Halloween Horror Nights, this will be the first one, I believe, after Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes.
So this one will change up. And then, weekly they will change. If you have any ideas of what you would like to see in the thumbnails, if you like them, let me know.
Feel free to email us, or if you want, in the comments to this to the show. If you want to leave a comment, you're more than welcome to, and I will definitely pass along any feedback to Anne-Marie. On next week's show, we're going to be back here at the Magic Kingdom to do the Country Bear Musical Jamboree, which Anne-Marie has not personally seen in person. She has seen my footage and heard it through the hundreds and hundreds of times. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, Don did a favor for our friend Window to the Magic, and recorded Country Bear Jamboree about 743 times. So he has seen it many, many times. I have not. So this will be the first time I see it with the new show.
Yes. Speaking of a Window to the Magic, I will be doing some guest shows for a Window to the Magic. So one of them just came out from October 21st. It is a Halloween-themed Wear It in the Park game that I did at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So we kind of walked through the park. Anne-Marie is not there because, it's just walking.
And it was,
Yeah.
There was no talking involved, so there was really no reason for me to be there.
And of course, we ended a Halloween-esque themed ride at Hollywood Studios. But on next week's show, as I stated, we're going to be doing Country Bear Musical Jamboree and, of course, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which will be going down in January 2025 for a whole year. Won't be coming back until 2026.
Or hopefully we get some of those Disneyland improvements.
Ooh, I would love that. But, say goodbye, Anne-Marie.
Goodbye, Anne-Marie.
And so long and have a magical week, everybody.
Hana means family. Family means nobody
gets left behind
or forgotten.